Welcome to Lumberjay Knight's Top 10 Tips for New Members in Old School RuneScape. Whether you're a new member or a returning veteran player and just need your memory refreshed, this video will give you 10 top tips to make your trip into members a success. So I'm going to get straight in there. And the first one, it's a bit of a woolly one, so I apologise in advance. But the first tip I've got is to set some account goals. Literally, you need to set yourself some realistic account goals. This will keep you motivated and keep your character progressing. Setting goals like, I want to get the max cape when you're a level 3 noob, doesn't really help you because there's no sense of achievement. You need to set yourself short, medium and long-term goals and do your best to kind of stick to those and keep the game flowing. For example, when my Hardcore Iron Man went members for the first time, I was kind of focused on Wintertodt, so my short-term goal was to prep for Wintertodt, my medium-term goal was to do Wintertodt to 99 firemaking, and my long-term goal is to maybe get a quest cape. Stuff like that, whatever works for you, that is my advice for the first tip. It's really not an in-game feature, but having that mentality of setting goals and targets for your account, just like you would do in real life, will really help you in the long run and stop you from getting burnt out. Tip number 2 basically centers all in the Varrock region. So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is to do the Varrock Museum quiz. This will get you 1000 Slayer XP and 1000 Hunter XP. So as a fresh member account, these will likely be level 1 still. So this will get you all the way up to around level 9 in both skills. And all it requires you to take is a very basic quiz where the answers are pretty much given to you as you take the quiz. It's very simple and it takes the whole of about 15 minutes at most. Secondly, there's another mini quest called Daddy's Home. This will get you an introduction to the construction skill and will score you 400 construction experience plus a little bit more for the actual construction work that you do. You will, however, need a few planks and nails as well as a saw and a hammer in order to do this. However, it's well worth it, and for completing the quest, you will also unlock the player-owned house. This is also a good prep step for the Wintertodt, which I'm going to mention shortly. Now, the next couple of points are going to focus on getting around Gelinor. RuneScape is quite a big world, and running around in it can get very tedious very quickly, especially if you're going questing. So, this next point, I recommend getting 27 Mage and 27 Crafting. This will allow you to craft Rings of Dueling, which give you teleports to Alcarid and various other locations around Gelinor, and Games Necklaces, which give you, of most immediate interest, teleports to the Wintertodt and various other locations such as the Barbarian Village. These are very useful teleports for relatively cheap items which are easy to make and enchant. You can always buy them from the GE if you're non-Iron as well. Continuing on the theme of transportation, the Ardoin Cloak 1 is arguably the most useful cloak on the game for low-level players. It gives you a teleport to the monastery, which is basically a free Ardoin teleport. So if your magic isn't level 51, you won't be able to get over that side of the map easily. It can be quite difficult, and this cloak offers you a very, very easy way to do that. You will, however, as you can see on the screen there are a few requirements which will require you to do a couple of quests. However, they are generally quests that are easy to do. Equally, the Lumbridge Easy Diary is also quite easy to do, and that unlocks you the Explorer's Ring 1, which allows you to cast low-level alchemy 30 times a day, very useful for low-level players, as well as replenish 50% of your run energy twice a day. So it's just a little bit of a helping hand there for questing and moving around Gelinor early days. The next thing we're in for, and the last thing on the transportation theme, is the Tree Gnome Village quest. This is a relatively easy quest. There is a level 112 Khazad Warlord which you will need to defeat, but it can be safe spotted and killed by anyone with level 17 magic. It's not difficult to do, guys, just gotta be careful when you set up your safe spot. But this opens up the Tree Spirit Network, which is another very useful way of transiting around Gelinor. So well worth the hassle to do. Equally, this then leads into the Fairy Rings questline, which again is another very useful but higher requirement set of quests, but definitely something you should add to your short-term to mid-term goals, as once you unlock the Fairy Ring network, it is incredibly easy to get around various sites of Gielinor. Oh, and all you need for the Tree Gnome Village quest is 6 regular logs. Please like the video and support my content. Thank you, noble knight. Next up on my list is the Wintertodt. Wintertodt is a skill-based boss battle that is dangerous, so you need to be careful when you go there. However, conversely, the lower your HP level, the easier Wintertodt is, as it lowers the amount of damage that you take. There are some prep steps, like you need 50 fire making, you need to have completed Daddy's Home, or bought a house if you want to get construction experience while doing Wintertodt, which I strongly recommend you do. You'll need to complete Druidic Ritual, you'll need 4 items of warm clothing, and the fastest way there is probably by using one of the aforementioned games necklaces. However, doing Wintertodt is incredibly profitable for low level characters, as it provides you with quite a decent supply of cash and some very good starter items. There's also a very rare chance, like a 1 in 10,000 chance of getting a Dragon Axe, a 1 in 5,000 chance of getting a Phoenix Pet, and a 1 in 1,000 of getting the Tome of Fire. All 3 of those items are highly desirable, and if you are a hardcore Iron Man, for example, that's probably the only way you're ever going to get those items. And obviously it's the only way that you can obtain the pet, so it's well worth the grind, possibly all the way up to get your first 99, as 99 fire making at Wintertodt will take something like 500 to 600 Wintertodds and is probably the fastest 99 you can achieve in the game. Not a bad mid to long term target to set. Next up, you probably want to unlock all 3 overhead prayers. That means getting a prayer level of 43. This will unlock Protect from Melee, Protect from Range, and Protect from Magic. These are incredibly useful prayers and enhance your combat ability significantly, allowing you to fight significantly harder mobs, thus unlocking higher level quests at a much lower combat level. They're not actually very hard to achieve either. You're probably talking 3 to 600k coins to get to somewhere between 37 and 43, depending on how you generate the experience. Dragon Bones in the Wilderness being one of the best routes. There's also several quests that will get you started in prayer if you haven't trained it at all, and you can basically buy Dragon Bones off the Grand Exchange and simply bury them, or go into the Wilderness and offer them the Chaos Altar for some good early prayer experience. Now, some people would disagree with me on this one. However, I think getting full Graceful before you do significant questing in RuneScape is probably extremely useful, as the sooner you get this suit, the more time you can assume the suit has saved you. Wearing full Graceful, quite simply, restores your run energy rate by 30% and reduces your weight by 25 kilograms. This essentially allows you to run much longer and regenerate your run energy much faster. Thus, over the course of the game's 150-ish quests, it's going to save you a long time, because many of the quests contain a huge amount of running, and a lot of it is unavoidable no matter what teleports and what access to different teleportation and movement methods you have. You simply can't avoid running. The most efficient way to get this, use the Canifis Agility course in Mauritania from level 40 to 60. This gives you the highest possibility of generating marks of grace, and thus will get you full Graceful fastest. That said, any agility training is useful, as any improvement in agility will increase your run energy and allow you to run for a little bit longer. This next point is really about the first quests to target when you become a member, and some early targets that I would recommend you look at as soon as possible are the Waterfall quest. This gives you a good amount of experience at low level and can jump you all the way to like level 30 strength, 30 attack, etc. The Tears of Guthix, Recipe for Disaster, Dig Site, Animal Magnetism in order to collect Ava's Attractor or Ava's Accumulator depending on your range level, and the Witch's House for some really good early PXP. There are, of course, dozens of quests and dozens of guides out there, but I recommend you do your research on the quests and target those which have high levels of XP early on to avoid you having to do the grind later. And this brings me to the final point, point 10, which is kind of linked to the first one, and this is to simply avoid burnout. Now, burnout is something that I've experienced multiple times on this game. It's probably the most dangerous thing to any account, including free-to-play and members alike, that if you hit the game and you get stuck in a rut and you get bored and you get fed up, because RuneScape can be incredibly grindy at times, and it can be incredibly demoralizing. For example, if you're waiting for a specific drop to happen, you farm an enemy hundreds of times and you still don't get that drop. All I would advise is to keep mixing it up. Keep moving content, have a couple of different targets on the go at the same time. That way when you get fed up with one, you can move to another. So, for example, why not do Wintertodt and then mix in some of the Q-Rend favor quests, like Client of Q-Rend and generating the various favor among the groups when you get bored of doing Wintertodt. You could also do Temperos and switch between the two bosses, for example, and just kind of think of different ways to kind of pair up different activities, go and do some quests, and come back to it. The longer you can keep the sustained energy up, the higher you're going to level your account, the more successful you're going to be, and the more likely to hit your long-term target you are. That's why I mentioned at the start, setting realistic targets that you can be happy with will prolong your life in the game and stop the big down periods, because I'm guilty of this. I mean, people just disappear for months on end until some new content comes out or until they fancy playing again. Then they get hooked, hit it as hard as they can for 6 weeks, and then they're off again and they don't come back for 6 months. All the while, the account has sat idle, and all that time that you could have spent and needed to spend to level your account and hit your long-term target has been lost. So have multiple targets on the go, switch it up, and try to avoid the burnout. You know, if you are feeling like you're burning out, take a break, come back to it, but try to avoid that long-term burnout. And that pretty much draws this video to a close. I hope some of these 10 tips were useful, or at least jogged your memory as to what to do when you start a fresh account in Members. So please watch out for my other videos, and this is the Lumbridge Knight saying peace out. Peace out, guys.